Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Good Enough Chats. My name is Dan Bauscher. I'm the host and producer of the show. And before we jump into this, I just want to give you a quick heads up about what this conversation is going to entail. So for this chat, I've been joined by Matt Hocking. Matt is in his mid-50s. He lives down in Cornwall and he has spent most of his career working in design with a big focus on planet and sustainability in his work. In this conversation, though, Matt talks about the challenges that he's faced with anxiety, with burnout, and struggling with relationships at times. The answers to which, or part of the answers to which, lie in his relatively recent diagnosis with ADHD. It's a really interesting conversation. Matt's incredibly open and generous and very keen to help other people who may be going through something similar. So I hope you find it helpful. And without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Hi, Matt. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing really good, thanks, Ben. Really. Dan, oh my God. No, I'm not doing good. I was going from Bailey, the cat, to yourself. So, no, I'm doing good. It's a good start to the week with having beautiful conversations after a wonderful weekend on the beach.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure Bailey, for those that are watching this on YouTube, because in the pre-record chat, Bailey the cat has already appeared a couple of times. So if you do see the cat, feel free to put cat emojis in the comments and all of that jazz. But Matt, for the benefit of our audience, would you mind? Bailey's turned up exactly on cue, and there's a cat bum. For the benefit of our audience, would you mind introducing yourself? Name, age, whereabouts in the country you are, what you do for a living, and the best flavour of crisps in your opinion.
Wow. I did not expect that.
Don't get distracted by the crisp thing now. Don't forget.
No. So my name is Matt Hocking. I will be 54 this year. My partner hates the fact I round my age up. I sometimes say I'm going to be 60 soon as well. It's only because I got a lot of energy. And I'm based in Cornwall, so North in Cornwall, so south coast of Cornwall, near a place called Charlestown, but not quite in Charlestown because that's an expensive area to live. I live with it a mile away, and it's a perfect walk to the beach. Cornwallish born and bred. Love where I'm from. I've been very lucky that I've been able to sort of make a living, make a difference in the region. And what do I do? I'm one of the 50% of creators in the UK that has no formal design qualification. And since 1993, and a bit of luck, a bit of stubbornness, I've been designing in some shape or form for different types of businesses up until 2000, when I joined the Eden Project as their first graphic designer after it just opened. Over the next couple of years, I became head of graphics, and it completely changed my world, to realizing, going into that making a living a difference, that I can use my skills to help people and planet through creativity. And that's what I've been doing since, with my own business, Leap.
Awesome. Now, that's really interesting and exciting, but the crisp question, Matt.
Yeah.
Best flavour.
I got two going around in my head. See, I'm a Twiglet fan. But that's
yes.
It's not a crisp, is it, though? Sort of, it's...
Okay, I'll extend it to savoury snacks, as long as the other one of the two is a crisp.
So the other one at the moment, and these are kind of more like, both I'm quite a nostalgia eater. You know, I go to cinema and I'm still doing the same thing as I did when I was like 8 with my dad. I do it with my girls now, and we have quite a cinema ritual, actually. Quavers at the moment is just something about the shape and the crunchiness, and then again takes me back to the 80s. So it's, a good time of, amazing hairstyles, clothes, and music.
Yeah, yeah. And I take it we're going for the cheese flavour quavers, none of that
Yeah,
nonsense that subsequently appeared. No.
yeah.
Good old traditional cheesy quavers.
Yeah, but I mean, I do like Chris. They are very Moorish, and it's actually probably a kryptonite as well.
Yeah.
Nachos are also, high on the agenda, and I'm not. Yeah, if I see them on a menu, I'm like, oh, nachos.
Yeah. Yeah. I struggle to walk past not just any packet of crisps without eating it. Any shop where they might serve or sell crisps, I struggle to walk past those. I have
Wow.
high addiction for savoury snacks, full stop,
Yeah.
I would
But
say.
you do a lot of running and keeping yourself
Me
fit,
too.
like so, I stopped running just before when lockdown hit and never quite got back on it. So I just sit around now. So yes, must not go near the crisps. Also, when I go to my partner's place, her children are younger and they've just got a cupboard of chocolate and crisps. My God, nighttime and me, I'm like literally the cupboard's talking to me. I have come to terms with it now. And I don't touch it anymore.
Well, that's very strong-willed. I
I've
mean,
been with her 6 years, so it's only this year I've broken.
okay, well, I've been on the planet for 46 years and I've not managed that yet. So,
Yeah.
um, thank you, Matt, for introducing yourself. I know this is going to be a really interesting conversation, another sort of really great chat for the bank of conversations that Good Enough Chats is building.
Yeah.
Um, could you, the first question I always ask people is, could you tell us why you're here today, like sharing your lived experiences of mental health and what has got you to this point? We'll talk about the journey that you've been on later, but
Yeah.
why are you here talking about this stuff today?
There's two veins about why I'm here, Dan. I guess first is and which will come later. So we'll drop a little interest point and then we'll park it for a moment.
Yeah,
I feel. I'm in something called a men's group called a Band of Brothers, and a fellow brother, I believe it was Steve,
yeah,
has been on. And out off back of that, you and I met, we talked, and you invited me very nicely in to have a conversation. I'm a super open person, and I feel we all need to speak. I need to speak more after many years of speaking, but as a mask rather than speaking my truth and the heart.
yeah.
And and so again, sharing a journey, people can perceive us as we've got this shit sorted. You've got it now. You've got the house, you've got the car, you've got the strange cat or whatever, you know. But actually, everything's a work in progress. Everything's a journey, and it's a points of perception that also come from a place of our own lived experiences and what our own insecurities and what our parents might have been like. So, I was talking to my sister last night, and my sister used to sort of say, "Oh, you're so lucky. You've got a house, you've got a car, you've got this." I said, "Well, if we look at it the other way, I have a bloody big mortgage. I have a car loan." And I'm very frugal with these things. So it's perception, Liz. You rent, yeah, it might be nice things. So, there was that kind of different perspectives. I don't know what it's like from her, but I like to get into the uncomfortable for everyone because I think modeling the uncomfortable that we're all constantly learning. So yeah, I'm here to both learn and really enjoy the couple of conversations we've had and share what I thought I was like a normal, hey, I'm a normal guy. This is what every guy is like until, my partner of the last 6 years in lockdown went, I think you're on the spectrum. I got really affronted. How dare she? Nobody's ever said that. And then investigating, I followed the breadcrumbs. So although I might have got my back up a little bit and gone, what the fuck, and sorry about my swearing.
All
And
right. You're not the first guest to swear. Drop
yeah,
those F bombs.
yeah. Checked with a couple of my friends. No, Matt, you're like super normal and that. But then I was thinking, well, actually, none of those have been in a relationship with Matt. I'm the only one who has a relationship with me, and I don't get me sometimes. And then my partner is very empathetic, very intuitive. She's in comms and PR. She understands what it is to listen to things, and I love her. So I started doing a couple of tests, online NHS, and then kind of opened up a whole new reality wormhole. I was like, oh, Okay, I hadn't thought about things like that. And then yeah, and then so it's not necessarily been a quest to find. I've always been a purveyor of curiosity and like I'm a big fantasy reader. The Odyssey's coming out as a film soon and stuff like that, Greek myth and things. So actually, just that journey, it's just a different journey.
Mm.
And as I go further into it, it's revealed some brilliant things that completely make sense. Looking back at 8-year-old Matt to nearly 54-year-old Matt. Um, and again, I don't mind talking about it either. From neurodiversity. Did a talk the other day. I just introduced myself as a an ND founder that is a 53-year-old 8-year-old. People have laughed, and then somebody's said, "I love it the fact that you talked openly about neurodiversity by naming it." I said, "But did I?" I
Mm.
said ND. And then rather than saying ADHD or autism or that, nobody started putting a defined idea to what I might have. You just heard neurodiversity and then complimented me for being so open. But all I'd done is normalized in front of 180 people the two letters ND.
Yeah, but I mean, that is, I mean, that's the point of this, isn't it? It's so powerful for people to just know that you can talk about this stuff um, without it like becoming an extra burden for you to have to bear. And I think the more that's why we do these conversations, because the more guys there are in particular who are talking about it, the more people can hear it and realize that it's not
Yeah.
abnormal, that they are not on their own, and there are things that they can do when they're experiencing difficulties or they've got questions that can help them to help themselves just a little bit sooner.
Yeah.
Just completely just that whole idea of, and I've used this analogy so many times, but this, if you've got the funnel, this marketing funnel, where at the
Yeah.
bottom is a guy called Jeff who's gone to get some specific support from his GP or a therapist. There are all these other things in the middle of the funnel, but what there isn't before anything's got in the funnel, there isn't this normalization,
Mm.
men talking about this stuff. And my theory is not that nobody needs to go into the funnel, because some people do need to go into the funnel, but
Mm.
imagine if you could be guided through the journey in that funnel better because you've opened up, because you understand more about what's happening.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing.
It is. And I think the big thing you said there as well is opening up, because when we've just got our inner critic or imposter syndrome or our joker, our fool, whatever things are going on in our head, we think it's just in our head, not but actually everyone's got the same, things going on. I talk to my daughters about this and what it is when they go down the street or like, oh, but I'll be judged, dad. But actually that's what you might feel, but everyone's just trying to get through their own day. And they're all going, oh, I hope nobody sees me or looks, or I don't talk to someone, or I want to talk to someone because I haven't talked to someone for ages. But the the opening up the inside to the outside in a way, it's not like a complete win. Oh, I'm set free. It's a step to easing the burden of it all being contained and trapped inside. And I don't mean in a kind of like a word, kind of you spout it all out and go, somebody help. It's just like a habit and exercise. You do it a little bit, and I mean, in my case, I tend to look at it in a sort of a challenger space rather than a victim space. I've been lucky enough that I feel that all my journeys and learnings and stuff from school to here to get a late diagnosis, and actually I've got a secondary ADHD afternoon appointment tomorrow to look at um the medication, which are what 5-6 years ago I was going, no, I don't do medication and stuff, but actually I can see the edges it takes off me. I'm a lot calmer. I would have once been really anxious to have this conversation with you as well, and I've talked to thousands of people on the stage, but I wouldn't sleep for a couple of days before, and I wouldn't eat. Then I've become even more wired.
Yeah.
so, so it's like it's this constant learning and also just the sharing And also, it's interesting now. It's like, I don't know if it's because the world's more open because of the conversations, but so many people come up to me after an event saying, you got ADHD like me? And they go like really firing. And I said, I'm neurodiverse, I'm where I am can be different on different sides. It serves me well in creativity. It maybe didn't serve my girlfriend so well for a while. She found me quite pointy. But yeah, it's this opening up and unfolding. And again, education needs to change for what's happening with all human beings, health, mental health,
Mm.
physical health. We've got a 100-year-old archaic education system that isn't fit for anybody anymore. And just from my opinion, and if we're seeing 1 in 4 people now diagnosed as neurodiverse, 25% more diagnosis this year. NHS are struggling, 5 to 7 year waiting list now, especially for adult ADHD. So yeah, lots happening. And then, but it all started, like I said, with Georgie. You know, I met this amazing woman, and then I started pushing her away basically with some, habits that I thought were quite normal as an independent guy. But actually, when somebody deeply loves you and feels there's this energetic connection, and I kept trying to push it away. And then through that, it wasn't just neurodiversity. It started off with, oh, I've got either anxiety or depression. So doing the NHS thing, I was like, no. I've always prided myself, I was one of my friends who didn't have these things. I'm always the happy guy and always full of energy. And then it just opened up this kind of like wormhole. And to such an extent, I think last year I had some form of burnout, and the doctors are still trying to work out whether it is ADHD masking burnout, which
Mm.
hadn't even heard of, or a work burnout, because I just got to a point after running a couple of events and running my agency and stuff that I just needed to sleep, and I slept for a couple of months, really.
Wow.
Had all the tests, and then the doctor said it might not be work burnout, but I'm guessing now I've met you and you've had a private diagnosis, and I'm still on the waiting list for the NHS. That things, so I've got a different private diagnosis tomorrow, but with a very specific ADHD centre to just go into medication and stuff tomorrow. But sorry, I've been knocking things over. But she said, actually, if you've masked ADHD all your life without knowing it, your parents weren't aware, so you got high energy, you like quiet times. Yes, I used to love going off and reading books and being in my fantasy world. I lived near nature, so I spent quite a lot of solo time in nature. I'm good with people, but I'm also got an introvert side. If you can no longer power yourself to power the mass that mask your ADHD from the rest of the world that you never even knew you had, that will create a breakdown. And that's what she thinks. But we got no true way to say it other than, I got signed off from work for a while. But you know what it's like running your own business. It's really hard to listen to a doctor signing yourself off from work. But I changed my routines. And actually, I feel it's the world telling me, slow down, Matt, pay attention. You're lucky to be where you are and do the things you have. You've got 2 beautiful, healthy 19 and 20-year-old girls, partner, parents in the world. First beautiful quote, life moves pretty fast. If we don't stop and pause once in a while, it could pass us by. And
Mm.
it's that really, really came to a focal point. So 6 months later, I think we talked first when I just started coming out of what I called my shedding phase. I was
Yeah.
working, but I worked from home. I felt quite a bit of anxiety going into my own business with my own team. They haven't seen me, some of them, for 6 months, but I'm okay working with them online. And yeah, so here I am, and I wouldn't say I've solved it. I wouldn't say I know everything about it. I'm actually not that great a reader of diving too deep. I'm just going with the flow and the conversations. And the more I talk about it, the more other people with similar experiences come into my life.
Mm.
And actually, to such an extent, I was talking to Lillian Bett, who's the partnerships manager for TED Global, the other day. I was on she's in a client session and where we were doing some ideating. I didn't know her before, and halfway through, she goes, "Oh, Matt, your energy is amazing. Have you ever done a TEDx?" And I was like, "No, I've turned those down twice." She went, "What?" Nobody turns them down. I said, when you're neurodiverse and you can't stay on point for more than a couple of milliseconds,
Yeah.
and TEDx's way of doing things is you've got to fully memorize your whole talk, stand on the spot and do it to point, it's a no-go.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, but we've got coaches for that. I said, no, even worse, because I won't be able to talk from my heart. And I don't know what my heart's going to say any given moment. I said, if you do TEDx ND, I'd be well up for that. And she's like,
Mm.
he just looked at me and went, oh my God, why have we not thought about doing that? So I'm hoping something might pay off on that. No, I don't care about talking, but actually, what with TEDx
Yeah,
ND,
you could be the first one. You could do the inaugural one.
I prefer to be behind the scenes, being the curator, the or the ideator, which is what I do. I ignite ideas for a living. So
Awesome.
sorry, I'm rabbiting on in different
No,
places.
no, no, no. That's really interesting. Thank you. And what I'd like to do when we will come on to your kind of journey in more detail, I think I'd like to kind of talk through your kind of experiences of burnout because I have that in my background as well. So I'd be interested to kind of see how. So there are parallels, similarities, differences, etc. in that. But before we do that, you mentioned earlier on that you'd had a lovely weekend away. How has your last week been?
So my last week is a mix of joy, uh, overwhelm, and trepidation all in a positive way.
Hmm.
So, no, after 20 years since I founded Leap, so a planet-centered design agency, the planet is our client. It's fairly unheard of 20 years ago. People thought I was mad. You're not going to get work that way. Turns out the planet was up for having some help.
Hmm.
It can look after itself, but I'm stepping back into startup mode myself. So there's the overwhelm of tying up loose ends for your business. You must know, like it's like there's always something to do, and it's not like I'm going completely. I'm just going to go into a chair kind of advisory mental role for the team. I'll be looking at future fitness of the business. So there's that side of things. I'm a good talker. I'm absolutely rubbish at paperwork and writing things down and stuff. So yeah, there's a bit of me that's procrastinating about that. I had to get shares sorted. So the team, the leadership team, Helen, it's only a small business of 8, but Helen, Nathan, and Simon will get voting shares in the business towards steward ownership for the business. And so there's that side of things. I've already got a client for my next business with Matt Hocking Limited. So it's just me. But he came early, but I wasn't quite ready for it. I hadn't even written what my skill set was. He was just asking, and I was like, "Oh, it's this," and he went, "Well, I'll take one of those." So he's in Byron Bay, and I've kind of been getting him onto. He actually works in the men's space himself. So guy called Bodie Aldridge, yeah, incredible individual, and yeah. So I've got what I'll be doing with Bodie. I'm only doing that one day a week. So stepping into that, learning to do paperwork and stuff by myself as a small business because I haven't done that for a long time.
Yeah.
Even doing a confirmation statement, even getting Matt Hocking as a limited company because I got King in my name. I got a letter from Cabinet Office saying about because your name's got King in it, we have to check through that you aren't going to cause any issues for the King. And this is me shortcut. It's hilarious because it gives me a story straight away. So I got an official Cabinet Office bit of paper. Says, can you just say about this is your actual name, birth certificate, and all of these, and what your area of operation will be, and then we'll get back to you whether you can have your own name as your business.
Wow, I had no idea.
It's probably a default, like if we had our registered trademarks and things, and
Yeah.
I think if anything with the word king in it, it probably goes to Cabinet Office, and we all get a headed bit of letter paper. We probably laugh a lot, and that's it.
Wow. Okay, we'll frame that.
Yeah, and it just shows like sometimes what I thought would be easy. Obviously, I set up Leap 20 years ago as a sole trader. This time I'm going to start a limited. So there was that. So there's a lot happening. A couple of things where I haven't done, some bits that I should do, other projects starting to turn up which will relate to my new side.
Hmm.
So which there's some such uncanny stuff. And then my partner has just had enough of work, and she just said, I'm going to go camping at Pole's Earth. You're going to come and join me? And I was like, I can't tonight, but why don't you go with your daughter, and I'll come up on Saturday. I'll get the bus up. I'm not driving at the moment. To get 18 miles took 3 hours, but I got there in the end,
You
and
could
it
have
was
walked it
beautiful.
faster.
Yeah, so it's kind of again, it's probably a good analysis of me as a whole in the speed I move and the higgledy-pigglediness of it. It's like chaos, but always good stuff comes from it, Dan. And it's sort of trusting the journey. And once I arrived, I could just relax. I'm here. It's sometimes that talking or the anxiety where you go, I can't do this because I've got this much work here. I've got to provide there. And you just become like a human rabbit in the spotlight. But actually, if we give ourselves permission and let ourselves go, all this, I'm in Cornwall, not because it provides me a rich income or something, it provides me with a rich landscape to be part of. So
Mm,
bringing up my children here and stuff was, although I'm multi-generational Cornish, it was just a privilege to be able to work and bring them up. But the priority was bringing them up in a good space. Yeah, they'll want to leave now they're 19 and 20 and go somewhere else. But it's been really good. Beaches are free and things like that. So yeah, we spent a lovely time on the beach with my partner Georgie, and her daughter Flo, who's just turned 13. We camped, saw some friends I've met through the Be Cool movement and the Business for Good movement, and just had a lovely weekend. Perfect sun, freezing sea. So, and that's the counterbalance, isn't it? And one of the things for the last 20 years, I don't give myself much time to stop working, not work. Work has become a mask. It's like a hunter-gatherer moment. When my relationship with the mother of my kids broke down, I threw myself into work and stuff like that. And so this 20 years, separating it out of my business is more separating with my relationship with my laptop,
mm,
which is like my third child in a way. And actually, my laptop and my business haven't been given as much space to fail safely as my children have. So I'm in a letting go grieving period. So that's probably a really complex and windy thing to answer about how was your week. But I guess going back to neurodiversity and the speed of my world, all of that is happening at a million miles an hour, and I can navigate it really well. But I wanted for you and those that might tune in, if I haven't turned them off, is I work at accelerated speeds.
yeah.
And I can do lots. I don't sleep much. But that beach and being in a tent and seeing the stars at night, it reminds me why I'm here and why my business serves the planet and why I'm in service of my daughters and things like that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, Matt. And it does lead us seamlessly into the kind of conversation around kind of burnout experience. So
Mm.
your how your kind of relationship with your mental health has evolved. So you obviously talked about um, later life diagnosis of ADHD,
Mm.
um, but you also talked about depression and anxiety and that mix there, and how that caught you by surprise because that's not how you see yourself.
Mm.
When do you think with the benefit of hindsight now, when do you think you would have started to have been affected by either ADHD or the depression and anxiety? Are the latter caused by the former? How do you understand that now, and what's the journey been like to get you to that point?
Yeah, it's a really good question, actually. Like in my head, I'm visualizing lots of like, when your iPhone brings up photo memories and stuff, you actually probably about 7 or 8 periods of my last 30 years were coming up at that. Um, so school, I did all right. I did good at school. I was always the one getting told off for being distracted and things. And but I took that creativity is my way. A lot of creators be quite distracted, and have dyslexia or dyspraxia or other things. So I didn't really think about the terms. I'd always kind of thought, I'm normal, whatever normal is. Um, I've done well in work. I've always been hyper honest. Most of my jobs have come through not quite having the skill, but just being honest about not having the skill.
Yeah.
And luckily those employers who took me on with my first creative job, seeing something in me that I might not have. And I've actually played that forward to look beyond others that come in to be employed by Leap as well. Um, but I'd say the main sort of crux of things happened in the period of the 5 years I was with um, my children's mum. And if I had to go back, because I'm very cautious, one, not to create a victim story of it, because it wasn't that. She helped me grow up. The business became out of it because I needed to provide for my family. And I have two beautiful children, and I had never had any plans to have children. So as a 33-year-old, child when I met her, surfing and stuff like that. And I grew up quickly, but it was a accelerated speed. Two children, 6 months into the relationship, leaving Eden Project, moving to Wiltshire, setting up a business. Not sleeping much, bringing in clients. I felt I was designed for this. It's like, my God, I'm brilliant at this, and I don't need to sleep. And she had postpartum depression and didn't get out of bed for a long time. So lots of stuff happened. I was like, don't worry, I'll work till 2 a.m. and I'll get up with the kids. And once the breastfeeding bit was out of the way. And I just thought that's what life was. So I got faster and faster. I slept less and less. The relationship ended in 2008. She disappeared for a while. I had the girls for a while. I had two companies then, Leap and a promoter company. I left one of those because I knew I could only do one thing well. And I just left that company because I'm strange like that and didn't really do any proper paperwork or anything. But I did the right decision, and it was also to make sure I maintained looking after the girls and being strong and stable there. And the whole thing just carried on like that. And as the girls, I'd have a couple of relationships in that period. They would go wrong. I think a couple, yeah, 5 year relationship. Now looking back on it, I can see with the lens of anxiety and neurodiversity on it, I can see how I was pushing people away, and even my daughters at times. And I was at this accelerated pace, only sleeping like 3 hours a night, going, "Oh, I'm fine, I can do this," not realizing that was leading me to be short-tempered and stuff. But luckily, before Georgie, my partner of 6 years, and hopefully my final partner, proposed to her last year, and never had love like this in my life. And but in that period, I was kind of very wired, but I thought it was just that's what happens when you're in business, and that's what happens when you've got parents. Got nobody giving you a manual of what our mindset should be like and our energy. So I was like, go, 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 go. I used to say the line, "No retreat, no surrender," which is from Jean-Claude Van Damme. Um, and that whole proud of, oh, I worked 20 hours and things, and I picked up the girls from school and I made them tea and then I did this. Um, and then I was with this lady for 5 years, and I think I was probably pretty unkind to her in my edginess.
Mm.
And then I just thought maybe that's why I haven't had a successful long-term relationship. Maybe it's just me. Then I met Georgie on online dating, everything I could have wanted, love, just pure love. It was like she's talented. She's got a team of 30 under her, three offices around the UK. Not that I'm looking for somebody with money, but somebody that's a strong, independent woman. That's what I want. An equal. Actually, she's stronger than me. But in that kind of thing, she was like, "Oh, I don't get your edginess. You're like 1 minute you're this really like happy guy and you're just full of energy, and then the next minute it's like bang, or you just go no to everything." And then she split up with me when we got back, and split up with me and got back. And then the third time, I think she split up with me. And she's a strong woman. She said she'd never do this normally, but that I was very compelling, she said. But she said, you've got problems and I can see it, and you don't like me talking about it because you get fronted, but you can. I said you're on the spectrum. I still feel it. I want you to go into it. So I did the NHS test for depression. It came up with. So I had my backup. I was quite seething, but at the same time, I knew I'd had a gift in meeting Georgie. I met her at 48. Yeah, meeting someone like her, and she's just full of energy and goodness. Um, I couldn't imagine life without her, and I've been given a couple of chances. Normally, when a relationship's gone wrong with me, whether it's me or that, I just walk away and go, "Oh yeah, that this was something more." And that's why actually, she's become a coach, a teacher, a guide, a lover, a best friend, all of it. And also, I've always been fiercely independent. The mother of my kids was bipolar, so I've lived in alternate worlds with that, and Georgie's like straight down the line, and yeah. Anyway, going off on a side dream there, but so yeah, I did the NHS test and was like, oh, okay, that surprises me. And it's just a basic one, it takes about 5 minutes online, NHS mental health check or something, and it just basically said, it doesn't look like you've got depression, but you've got anxiety. But I mean, the two go part and
Mm.
parcel. And later on, actually, ADHD usually has a neurodiversity will have something that carries with it. So there's always like something in the sidecar of a neurodiverse person. And so that's the person I'm seeing tomorrow is Wednesday is all about that. He goes, anxiety would be right to be with ADHD, neurodiversity kind of thing, or depression or something. So I started doing it, went to doctors, blah, 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 got some sertraline, and we noticed a change, you know. And what the biggest notice for me, Dan, was those 2 days before I used to do a talk. Even though I knew my stuff and I've always talked from the heart, and what comes out of me is very of the moment. It's not planned. People say they love my honesty, my authenticity. I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth sometimes, but it's very heart intelligence rather than this thing.
Mm.
But suddenly I wasn't getting all those worries. I was like, oh, so being worried for 2 days before a talk is maybe not normal when I thought everybody must feel the same. And I talked to a couple of friends, my friend Mark Shaler, he's an author and host, and he's like, oh God, Matt, before I used to go on stage, I used to cry my eyes out and stuff. I was like, okay, all right, there's something more here. So suddenly I was able to operate in a less, I guess, anxious way. And all those years of saying, I'm not this and not this is just the way I am, and everybody else must be like it. It started to just open up from there. I think it gave me like a pause, Dan. I was really always against medication. Friends in their 18 were like, we talk, and I'd be in a room and they'd all be talking about what antidepressants are on. I go, no, no, just life, happiness. We don't need these pills. But now I see there is a purpose for them, just
Mm.
like the purpose for meditation and things like that. That's hard for me as well. so, and so, but what it gave me is space to investigate Matt and his very fast mind. I started to slow down. Didn't sleep very well still because sertraline also isn't seems to be like an upper. It makes me a bit more wired. Um, and so, but it gave me more space, and I managed to adapt and be able to kind of look at myself and go, "Oh, actually, Matt, yeah, why do you always go up to London on the train so you arrive 1 hour before you've got to present, and you're even anxious?" So I started to invest in time and me and slowing down, and then through all this, other bits unfolded. I tried like weaning myself off. Like Georgie took me away for my 50th. I thought, oh, we're going to be on holiday in a beautiful island. I didn't tell her I came off the pills. I came off the pills, and 6 days into a 7-day holiday, she was like, "I can't cope with you." I was like, "What the fuck?" And she goes, What's happened? Is there something wrong?" I said, "Oh, I'm not on the pills." And she's like, "Why the hell have you done that?" I said, "Well, I thought we're in a happy space, we're on holiday." She goes, "No, no, it doesn't work. Like you can't switch them on and off like that." So, and then she got annoyed I didn't tell her. So, and then through all this, we just went deeper into stuff. So my love for her, and she even thought at one point, Dan, that she was changing me too much, and thought she's in. I said, well, actually, I am a better person because of you and your support and awareness. I might have been a stubborn fool by saying I'm not, I'm this, and I'm of course I'm okay. But now I see that there's lots of things in my life and lots of patterns, and I actually feel like I should apologize to a couple of my exes as well. But they probably don't want me phoning them up. Nothing bad, just my kind of being really high and positive, and then being very edgy and reclusive. So yeah, it's just opened up from there, and then just kind of going on the journey, and then in talking about these things, other people start talking, and other people start saying, "I like the way that you're open about it." I wasn't open once,
Mm.
but I've got this wonderful strength in my life that complements it, and for the first time, I'm not running from it. I'm actually okay to be loved, embrace love, and put my love into action. And part of this is my love in action. Georgie has inspired me to, at one point, Dan, I wouldn't even embrace the word love.
Mm.
So, coming from a place of I'm not lovable enough kind of thing. So much has come. There's so much wealth and richness, and it's only just the beginning. And I still will have days, even on the Sertraline, like I was supposed to go to our best friend's wedding 2 Saturdays ago. I woke up and I didn't have a good night's sleep, and then I was like, "Oh God, I'm not going to be good enough at that wedding for her. It's her best friend," and I didn't go, and I made her very angry. And we talked it through, and she said, if you had flu, I would get it, but you didn't. And I said, well, mental illness, anxiety is an illness. We're just not considering it as
Mm.
an illness. I said it goes from me thinking I what to wear and stuff like that to, by the time I didn't go in the morning with you, to going, oh, I'm just going to ruin it for you if I go up. And that's with medication, that's with training, that's with learning, all those things that I can still get into those spots. And I'd like to say I'm a pretty strong-willed and open individual for investigating, and I can get out the door on a
Mm.
really special day for my partner.
Well, I think that's so important because for people that haven't experienced difficulties with their mental health, when they first do find themselves in that position, I think, I've got no data to back this, but I think that people think in terms of things like medication or therapy. They go, "Oh, that'll fix it," but it doesn't, because it's not. Oh, if you do that, that will happen. It's There's this pathway that you're traveling, and sometimes you'll fall off the path. Sometimes you'll feel like you're going backwards from where you've come, but you will over time continue to make progress, won't you? You will find better ways, different ways to respond to things,
Yeah.
but you are learning all the time. And
Yeah.
if anybody is kind of struggling with this stuff right now and they haven't yet taken that step to get help, they need to understand it's not linear.
No.
It's almost it's kind of, you're sort of going like that, aren't you? Very slowly moving forward, but
Yeah.
that
And as you get new knowledge and stuff, I mean, we can sometimes go, oh, that happened because of this and that, but it's not necessarily that's the case. Psychology might say one thing, but again, it opens up and you just can kind of look at things. But for me, it's kind of like just seeing the landscape differently. Like the neurodiversity also allows, there's a lot of data around neurodiverse individuals are more empathetic for the planet and stuff, especially in female leaders. A lot of female leaders that are in environmental space have a neurodiversity. But that's great. Maybe that's us evolving for what the planet needs. Who knows?
mm,
And then with the anxiety, actually being able to talk about that, and it's really surprising because I said Georgie, because she doesn't have that, found it really hard. And then she told a couple of her female friends who were at the wedding to them, where they're with their partners. They're like, yeah, know what that's like. So it's interesting. It was the men going, yeah, this happens, and just tell Matt, it's okay. We'll see him when we see him and stuff like that. And so it's interesting. And she was like, I'm surprised, this guy. And then she said a couple of other female friends, like, oh yeah, my husband just really struggles with going out. And she's like, what? I know your husband. He's great. He's like, so this is all this hidden
mm,
stuff. And it's not even about like what is masculinity. It's just like a lack of understanding that many of us are in the same place. Many of us are just trying to figure things out. I watched the new Superman film, slightly distracting out the other day. So I like superheroes. So does my partner, and she loves Superman mainly because they look really good looking men. Um, but Superman's the new one is a very human version of Superman compared to other ones, maybe more akin to like Christopher Reeve and stuff like that, rather than the last couple being like these all powerful, building destroyers. And the new one, who's 25 years old, there's a scene in there where he gets a bit angry with his partner. So he actually gets angry. He goes, "Look, some days I wake up and I'm just trying to put a foot in front of my other foot to figure out what I'm doing that day." And that's Superman. So he's
Mm.
got dual personalities. He's a reporter and he's a superpowered alien. But it was really good to see that humanness in this film. And again, I think films are giving us messages all the time if we can see them, And I really applauded that because it wasn't alpha, it wasn't overt masculinity. It was a person in tune with themselves, just trying to say, "I'm doing the best I can."
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and more of that. I think we too often feel like we've got to be superpowered, or again, that that lineage of this is what a man should be.
Yeah.
If you're affectionate or you're tender, you might be labeled as being something else, and it's not that. You just care a bit more. My friends always used to go, "Oh, Matt, you do the work you do because you're sensitive," and I was like, "I don't think I'm sensitive. I like nature and I like the planet and I like where I live. I didn't see myself as sensitive. Maybe I am."
Mm.
so, so yeah, it's a real eye opener, and then that eye opener has kind of made me. I always say a purveyor of curiosity. I'm a Scorpio, whether you believe stars or not. There's a big curiosity side to us Scorpios, hence like in myth and magic and stuff like that. And so it's just kind of been going like on a curiosity, and things start arriving. Band of brothers, hey Matt, circle, and then suddenly I'm hearing all these men talk in different ways,
Mm.
and going wow, and I'm being really impressed with it, and even inviting a couple of my friends in that are normally very like stoic, and suddenly, they're opening up. And Marcus Aurelius talks, and I can't remember Marcus Aurelius's quote, but this is a bastardized version there. We always think the shit is in the way, but the reality is the shit is the way.
Mm.
That's it. It's there because it's part of the pathway you're on. It's not get it out of the way. It's shaping you. It's made you, and there'll always be something else in the way that's a problem. That's how we
Can
deal
you,
with it.
Matt, can you obviously, I'm going to link back in the description of this chat to the episode where Steve Jackson was on, because Steve was the gentleman that Matt mentioned earlier on, who was also a part of Band of Brothers. But for the people that haven't heard that episode, could you just explain what Band of Brothers is?
Yeah. So in its easiest, simplest format is it's men between 18. I don't know what the upper age is, but I know there's somebody in our group in Snorstal that's 75.
Yeah.
And it was a couple of different ways of looking at it. It's older men giving back their journeys and supporting younger men on their journeys. The younger men being between 18 and 24, and they've somehow been referred through social services or the criminal justice system, probation, that they're needed to do some time and have a mentor. So we do some mentoring training, which we have ourselves a course, and then after that, we can mentor the young men. So typically, an older man will have a mentee. An older man starts from really 35, but we have got a couple of younger ones like Jake, who's better than me. He's 32, but such a wise 32. And it has come out of continuing around the like escalation of self-destructive and antisocial behavior among young men in every section of society, and about like reclaiming like shared responsibility for that. So men, we're modeling, but we're not telling you must do this, you must do that. We just model um, where we are ourselves, or model what good behavior is, or what politeness is. And we've all had different journeys with ourselves.
Mm.
Um, and it's the only men's mental health group in the UK, I believe, that has this kind of mentoring side to it with the younger men. And the younger men are just unbelievable. I've sat in circle with older men, and it's one level conversation, but when you bring the younger men in, it opens up whole new realms, because we remember ourselves as, younger men. We remember whether we had supportive parents or not in that. And again, we're not trying to be men that become father figures or taxi drivers or banks or something like that. It's very boundaried, but we will take them through a learning journey, where there's no right or wrong, but like investigating 1 week what it is to be impeccable with your word. What is love to you? What is making no assumptions? And so there's a way of going through this. There's an area around grief, an area around integrity. So yeah, but it was an unlooked for thing. And I talked to you earlier that I've never really sat in circles of men. I've never been into football, cars, looking at women and going like, oh, wouldn't mind that XYZ sort of thing. That's not my way. So I always felt I love my friends, male friends, but I didn't go and do football or anything like that with them. I'd meet them on other nights when they weren't shouting at a TV. And so this was quite alien to me. And I've also been surrounded by women all my life. So I've got lots of girl pals. I've got, my girl dad, so single dad of two girls, and 19 and 20 now. And so this was new, but then actually just when you meet honesty and integrity and openness, confusion, people that are just trying to be the best versions of themselves, and we know not every day is perfect, there's something magic there. And then when the young men come in, it's amazing. Well, I mean, I was getting the train. Well, I had to like chaperone one young person, and he'd never been. I knew he didn't like being on the bus, so I said, "Oh, I'll meet you." And I knew why he didn't like the bus. He always found that people looked at him like he was stupid. He said, and XYZ, and he's a 21-year-old young man, lives in supported housing in St Austell. And I said, "Oh, we'll get the train then." And we got the train, and I'm explaining bits about how the train works. He'd never been on a train, 21 years old. And so I did the ticketing. I said, look, you don't have to interact with it so more. You can use a machine. You can do it on the app. So if you don't quite like people on desk. Anyway, we're on the train, and the tannoy goes off announcing a stop. And he was like, what the fuck is that? What's that voice? And I'm like, oh, shit. Yeah. He's probably never had that on any transport and things. He's never been in an airport and stuff. So just those things we take for granted. But now he's traveling around Cornwall by himself on a train. And that's not just down to me, that he's got a mentor, Harry, who's part of our group. It's just I was happy to jump on a train and bus and do it.
It's amazing, isn't it? How you just how many assumptions you do make. You said there about not making assumptions, but the things that throw people off that you wouldn't even consider could throw people off. It's incredible, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
not having heard the intercom on a
Yeah.
train or a tannoy.
It's kind of just like relearning, but for me, and so like looking at everything in a whole new way. Like when we have we both had children, and that awe and wonder where Charles Young, like everything where they like whether it's looking at a butterfly, or they might go, why is that person big over there, and say it too loud or something, because it's awe and wonder, and we sort of forget that. So again, the beautiful discovery of this is getting the rare privilege to see the world in another facet that is not of my own or my children's or my partner's, of somebody that's not connected with me. It's a young man in this case that has had very, exceptionally complex backgrounds or an adverse childhood in lots of different ways. And again, we're not there to solve them. We're just there to show what it is for somebody to show up, and we compliment them on them showing up. So even if when we do check-in sometimes, We all sit in circle and there's like a check-in, how you doing kind of thing. And then there's an accountability round, being accountable to anyone. And have you broken that accountability? That's stepping out of your integrity, so you get a chance to be back in. But check-in, sometimes the young will go like, talk about what you've done this week, and they'll go, oh, I've done nothing, But the golden nugget is go, well, actually, you haven't. Whatever you think you've done, you were arrived at the train stop on time before me. That would be a first gold nugget. You showed up when I know how awkward it is for you to be in public, and you're here now, equally uncomfortable, but doing what you have to do because you believe in it. One, because it is part of a 23-week program.
Hmm.
And then that's the magnificent of those little things and just acknowledging them. You and I having this conversation, we probably are here, but actually acknowledging that if you hadn't done the work you've done to bring here, so thank you for making this happen so that many men can share their stories. And if that helps one heart and mind, that's our good work done, let alone it's a bit of work on ourselves. So, big applause to you, Dan, for what you're doing. And that's kind of what we're doing, modeling that, which sometimes it's quite hard to receive. So I'm talking too much and going on too many levels.
Well, I will. I don't know that I'll ever get comfortable receiving kind words. This is,
I'm there. I hear you. Yeah.
my burnout kind of experience is, same outcome, almost completely opposite driving factor. So, I mention that because it does relate to not being able to hear the positive, which is I discovered through going through therapy after I burned out with anxiety, depression from work, that I'm a clinical perfectionist. And that for me, that manifests itself as inertia, because what is the point in even starting something if you're not going to be brilliant at it?
Yeah.
So my kind of default mode, you're talking about high energy, getting lots of stuff done, not being able to sleep. I'm almost the complete opposite, which is I don't start stuff because I won't be brilliant at it. That they completely illogical, right?
Yeah.
But when I always see the flaws in everything that I do. So the last thing I need is somebody repeatedly heaping more negativity on top of me because I'm already there, right?
Yeah.
Strike that camel's back. But then conversely, when people say nice things to me, when people compliment me on stuff, it feels so uncomfortable and alien and so easy to kind of dismiss it. And I know it's a thing that I need to work on. I need to work on being able to receive that stuff because it's very kind for the other person to say it. And if it feels like you're dismissing it, it devalues it, doesn't it? So that I think that's going to be one of those things that I am always going to have to work on to get better at that. But it comes from that point of view of my default mode is the glass is half empty. And it takes a lot of convincing for me to be able to see that it's half full. I feel like, and I'm paraphrasing based on this discussion, but I feel like part of the reason why you're sort of when depression and anxiety were put on the radar for you and those tests were a surprise to you is because you are very much a glass half full kind of guy.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that those kind of opposite mindsets can end up taking you to ultimately a very similar place where you end up sleeping for weeks.
Yeah.
Can't feel it anymore. Because I don't do much, my brain is constantly kind of thinking over about the things that I haven't done, the anxiety, how I could have done it better.
Yeah.
Nothing to show for it apart from exhaustion.
Yeah. And mine was worried about money, was worried about pride, like because we're I was such an outlier in the environmental creativity movement. But when you've got a team, and I'm like, I know that I won't buy plastic water bottles, or I don't put. We're like zero waste studio. I can't control what team. We got policies, and I worry about all the things. When I might mine's all around actually being is like radical truth, because I come from a thing where at school I people used to gossip about me, and I hate gossip, and they would tell lies, and it would get me in trouble. Like, well, Matt did this with this person, Matt slept with this girl, or whatever. And I really don't like all that stuff. So I'm actually radically transparent with everything about Leap, the ups and downs. So much so when I've been on other podcasts at times, I said, actually, Matt, just talk about the good stuff. And I don't mean it in and all the stuff is good, because we want people to see the realities of the business as smooth as we think it is. There's always an uncomfortableness in some areas of the business. There's something we're always sacrificing. Even the most successful entrepreneurs will be sacrificing things and stuff like that, or always looking to the next thing to prove they're good enough. But yeah, it was all these things. That's why I said, like, it's only really in the last few years I feel like I'm yeah, I guess I am actually growing and learning in a positive way as a man. And that's why I feel very lucky at the invites I have, like being invited to talk here. I don't think I make any sense. I'm much like you as well. I really am bad with confidence, but I've been told off now so many times about it. My girlfriend, actually, my fiance, at a festival the other day, wore a jumper saying "I love Matt Hocking" on it. And then other people wanted to wear it and come up to me. And then people go, "I love Matt again." And she always says, "Everybody loves you." But I go, "Oh, they don't. They don't know me." I have a lot of people that I guess like to talk to me. So yes, it's really interesting, squirmy spaces, Dan, and I completely relate to you. And even Bodie Aldridge, who I'm working with now, I said, he was like, "Oh, I'll pay you to do the work." I said, "Look, no, I'm happy to introduce you anyway, And he was like, "No, Matt, I want to pay you because I appreciate you." And it's like, honestly, he goes, "No, Matt, it's I'll take offence if you don't let me pay you, because by me paying you, I can provide your family, your friends, yourself. You can buy yourself a really nice meal, whatever you want. It's I don't know what your money thing is, but I want you to receive something because you've helped me." And in return, because I've paid you some money, we're in a contract of supporting each other, not a contract of work. And I know you have helped put a better meal on my family's plate and stuff like that. And I really liked
Mm.
that sort of thing, working for the benefit
We
of
need some
each
more
other.
Brodies in this world. I mean,
Yeah.
what a lovely sentiment.
Yeah, and actually, we were looking at a referral thing for his business, and I said I was really uncomfortable with the word referral, because I'm just going to recommend anyway, and I don't expect anything back. But I said, actually, but if you put it in an indigenous reciprocity way of gifting, then that's a much better thing, And Bodie invited me to one of his retreats. I wouldn't have normally gone or afforded it, but because I work for him, I don't have to pay now, so I can't really say no. And so he's been a really amazing man. Again, he's 63, but has got the energy of like somebody in their late 40s. Surfs most days, lives in Byron Bay, Portuguese and Indian heritage, like a wise Yoda type individual. But again, through whatever I am, whatever you are, whatever each one of us, there's all these things that flow into us, all these invitations that we can accept and we can receive, or we can say, actually, no, no. So I'm learning to receive more and be
Mm.
grateful. And again, this you've created this, and that everything you said, and I think we talked about this, and I'm sure you're doing this because this is imperfect, isn't it? It's not, and then that's on purpose. So in a way, you're taunting yourself and probably squirming each time, and like you said, you would kind of like clean things up, and you probably were thinking about what pictures here and what pictures there. But actually, we're everyone's saying it now, we're all perfectly imperfect, and that's what we've got to embrace. We Perfection is the death of progress, isn't it?
Yeah.
So to be okay with the things that make us up. And I've got a picture on my wall here, you can't see it, but it says, "The things that made you weird as a kid make you great today." And it's by an artist, James Victori, who I really like his style. And I've got words all over this house for my daughters that say like everything is beautiful and speak your hope and stuff like that and things, so that I didn't have to say the words before they went to school, like you're beautiful, you're this. It was just loads of affirmations that I've used around the house to support my daughter's growth and myself and my friends when they come in. So words are powerful.
Yeah.
Like you've got good enough chats in the corner there. So
Yeah,
which is
well, I can't remember if I told you about the why, but hopefully now you'll understand that with the
yeah.
perfectionism, I
Yeah.
procrastinated. I had the idea to do this, procrastinated for 2 to 3 years before I actually did anything about it because I was trying to make it perfect before I started.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you get nowhere.
So I just went, do you know what? I'll just fudge it. I'll do it, and in doing it, I will get better, and it will get
Yeah.
iteratively better until, let's say I get to 100 episodes, it will look far more polished and convincing than the first one did.
Yeah.
Part of the part of the rationale for just leaning into good enough is that the most important thing about any of these conversations is that they're happening
Yeah.
and they are out there for people to hear.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be a perfect camera, a brilliant mic, wonderfully edited stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be. It could get better, but it doesn't need to be, because the value is the fact that the conversation is happening at all, because that's not happening enough.
Indeed. Indeed. And that, again, if to a healthy planet and a healthy population needs a healthy economy, and that healthy economy is both inner, dealing with stuff and putting it into the outer, and then once we worked on the inner, we care more about the outer as well, and how we connect with all other earthlings. So yeah, I completely get you, and I'm the same as a designer. I would do hours of extra detail that would waste the budget. It wouldn't cost the client any more money. And somebody, I think one mentor, no, not my mentor, it's Blair Enns of the Win Without Pitching Manifesto, going, his book sort of says like, nobody's going to know you did 4 extra hours just to figure out where the full stop should be. But for me, it always knows. But now it's like actually a little bit, not Blue Peter, because I know one with the skill set for himself, we've got vast life experiences and stuff. And although it's not perfect, I look at it as, do I love it enough that I care about it in the world? So love, and I told you like I'm embracing the biggest thing is to found that I can love myself, and my partner very much loves me, and actually putting my love in action. So my next phase of my work starting in September is my love in action. That's literally my phase. The antidote is my love in action. And so but yeah, just putting things, out there, and we call them minimal lovable products. So that's what we say to the team, rather than minimum viable.
Yeah, yeah.
And we know none of the products will do harm to anyone as well. So that's a really important case. So, and we've had clients that go to us and goes, I got £50,000 to do, a site kind of thing. And we're going, well, let's not do that. And it might sound counterintuitive as business. So there's an amazing woman, Action Nan. So you could just put in, I think it's actionnan.com. She was with Katie Piper yesterday, and I walk with her like once a month. And we end up doing her site for 5,000. I said, all you need is like a business card site, because you've got all these TV channels. So she's 79 day activist, and litter picker, and she's really spry. She swims every morning, runs litter groups in Cornwall, created vinyl straw Cornwall, and lots of things. But she's a non-stop activist. And so I just said, if we just do a site that is a little bit about you and puts all the links, this is videos of me, this is my Instagram, that's all you need, and the media will find it. If you want to invest 50,000, in a few years' time, creating a global network to connect action nans all over the world, this is your base, and we can build it on there. But let's not spend that now.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
minimum level product is a single page website with your contact details, a bit of bio. Sure enough, people are finding her, asking her to get involved.
Awesome.
Mm.
Awesome stuff. Um, I think we touched on some of these already, but throughout the journey that you've been on, um, can you identify any kind of light bulb moments? And by light bulb moments, what I mean is uh, a specific kind of instance where you realize that where something clicked. You think, I need to do more of this. Or conversely, where you realize that there were things that you needed to stop doing because they were working against you.
So with those, it's all been in this 6-year period of being with my partner Georgie. So I said finding everything I wanted and didn't have in life, not to find and heal me, just to complement. And then that I was pushing it away, but that she had the wherewithal and the nature to be able to eloquently get through my barriers and stuff to say, I love you, but I can't do this. You need to do this. So to find somebody that's that supportive that they're also willing to let you go, but at the same time, me realizing that I have to do work, that the relationship, needs that. And, when I proposed to her 4 years later, she wrote a lovely post and just said, "Oh, it's taken our time to find the rhythm, but we've got this rhythm, and we get that rhythm." I also learned that I do have this kind of like black and white no, like not that I don't want to do something, Dan, but because of the speed of thought. So
Yeah.
Georgie will go, "Oh, if we do this today, go that," and I'll go, "No." But it's not that I haven't thought about it. I've just thought of every version of it in a
Wow.
millisecond and come up with a pathway that it's non-productive, unsustainable, not worth doing. And so just slowing down and listening sometimes, which is really hard for me. I mean, that's the work, I think, the biggest piece of work I've got to now do with Band of Brothers, and why the mentoring is good, because I have to become a really good active listener. Not I can solve. Every man tries to solve things when they don't even need it. When our lovers and our partners just want to be heard, and we jump in trying to solve it for them. And so that's my big thing. And why I did the mentoring training. But yeah, the main light bulb moments are being letting my barriers down to know I can be loved, and that I truly can love without fear, allowed me to then be able to get the altitude to see where I was being a not so good version of myself. I wasn't doing bad, but I was being more of an enigma and not realizing the confusion, I was sowing, or when I wouldn't, phone or speak for a couple of days because I was in my introvert, because we don't live together because of our children set up. So it's all those. It's just gaining the space, and the more you, like any habit, isn't it? The more you catch yourself, that self-awareness, the more you go, oh, so I didn't sleep well on Saturday in the tent. I got to bed about 5 a.m. Not for drinking stuff. I just couldn't sleep,
Yeah.
and I get like that sometimes, really restless and wired, and I could take a sleeping pill, but I didn't want to, because that's not a proper sleep. But I realised I was a bit short with Georgie the next morning. But whereas once I wouldn't acknowledge it and she wouldn't say anything, now I sort of said, thank you for an epic weekend. Well done you, because I know she needed it. She had a tough week last week, and that's why I sort of said go off, and camp. But I said, sorry, I was a bit edgy. And she goes, I know what you like. It's okay, but thank you for acknowledging it. And that makes a difference as well. That self-awareness. So it's a whole series of light bulbs, more like fairy lights, where I'd say, Dan, that they're not connected and you've only got like one, but as the lines work, it becomes a string, and they're all lit. They all make sense. And I'm a long way off, but I'm a long way in.
Mm.
And then being able to talk to my team about this. So my team also see me as this ferocious ball of chaotic, but they call it visionary energy. I really struggle with the word visionary. So, but our MD Simon says visionary a lot, and so I should honor that. But now we've talked about it, and so even with the team, we prepare for me, and making sure I've got certain things before the night. So it's like just learning new habits for old ways. Um, and I'm enjoying this, and I think I've got no, not I think I feel I've got a long way to go at slowing down the super tanker that Matt Hocking is,
Mm.
to get into a space where it's just more of a nice flow and not like a hard turn and things like that. So, and again, just following the breadcrumbs, talking to you, there's insights I get for myself about this. Maybe some of your listeners will go, feedback to me about me. And, I'm not looking for compliments if I talk too much or I talk too fast and things. I'm here to learn. And as I said, going back to the 4 agreements, try and be impeccable with my word, try and make no judgment, make no assumptions, and try and be the best version of myself each day for myself and all those around me. And that's all I can do, and I'll keep doing that as long as I'm healthy and can. And I'll speak about it in business, because again, what's the best version of our businesses, and we can be in that. Business is changing, and showing up authentically, openly, vulnerably is okay. Not all businesses are going to like that. Others will just go, I love that you're this way.
Mm. Well,
Um,
I've got to kind of pin my hopes on that because I'm only going one way on this stuff. I'm only going to be more honest,
yeah.
more open with people. I can't,
Well,
it's as a self-employed solo
yeah.
contractor.
Entrepreneur.
No, I'm not an entrepreneur. No.
You are, yeah, no, take it. I had the same thing. We are all entrepreneurs when we go and do our businesses. So, and also there's other things you will do that you might not see as entrepreneurial, whether it's, I guess, I mean, I don't know the entirety of you, but you've, there's probably other things that you've done that are entrepreneurial, but they might be just given gifts of entrepreneurial. There's, running what you love there's an entrepreneurialness there. So again, it's easier for someone else to see it
Yeah.
in another than us see it in ourselves. And I know this is making you squirm a little bit as well. And I squirm as well. I mean, again, it comes back to, for me, that whole love in action. It's not that my parents never loved me or anything. There was a barrier about me and love, but the reason I'm in work, and probably the same self, I I love, as I said, this planet where I'm from, and I'm lucky enough to be able to live in a safe place and make a living and make a difference. But it's love that is making all these things happen. I wouldn't be doing a job that I didn't love.
Mm.
And I love the people I get to meet through work, whether it's this, or the business we work with. Sometimes I don't love some businesses when they don't pay me on time, but we've got a plan for that.
Yeah.
So we're getting fair taxed, and we're getting a fair pay, like that we pay within we pay our suppliers within 24 hours if they're solo, and 14 days and stuff. So just shifting the business to how we like to do business and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but no, but again, I'm thankful for having this conversation because it helps me as well. It's like I wouldn't want to use the word therapy, but it is, these things are therapy. This is a talking circle. It's like just you and I.
They're cathartic conversations. I think the fact that, I said earlier, the most important thing is the fact that the conversations are happening. And a couple of guys who've been on previous episodes, when we've talked afterwards, they've said, "Oh, I kind of feel a bit guilty because it was useful for me." And I said, "No, that is that is it, right? So it's useful for me, it's useful for you, and the fact that we're recording it gives us a chance to make it useful for somebody else as well." And there is, I not all of these conversations that are going to be helpful for people are going to take place in a recorded environment, right? But if you and I talking today is heard by somebody who neither of us have ever met, hi Bailey, that none of us have met, who never contact us, but as a result of hearing this, they call a mate and they go out for a walk with their mate,
Yeah.
and it starts a different kind of conversation with them that helps them. That's it. That's what I want to happen as a result of people hearing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Nothing more complicated than that, but so important that people start doing that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. And I got a good friend, and I definitely come across the men's talk group talk club.
Oh yes,
Uh,
yeah,
how are you out of 10? And so another thing, the festival I do, Ben, the co-founder of Talk Club, was one of our founders of Good Fest as well. So we've had a Talk Club, but there's a friend of mine, Robin. I've known him since. Oh, I shouldn't put his name. It said his name, but a friend, and we've known each other. Yeah, about 25 years, I'd say. Um, he's been in a kind of a cycle where not happy in work and yeah, not feeling getting anywhere and like that inertia. And I just decided one day just go, how are you feeling out of 10? He goes, I mean, so like, 10 is like, you're really good, and I know 0 is you don't want to be here kind of thing. And he went 2. And I was like, "Whoa, dude, that's close. Are you sure on that?" And he goes, "Yeah, yeah." And I just said, "All right, let's go meet up. Let's go for a walk. Let's have a talk." Because the whole idea of talk club is you have that conversation and then you check in again, and like you've hopefully moved it up a little bit just by having that conversation. So it's really quick and easy, the talk club way. And it's not the solution. It's just that just by sharing that you go from that lower number, you might go up 1 or 2 or 3 or 4.
yeah.
So my cat's molting all over my nose. And and so we went out and we talked a bit more. And I hadn't thought about him coming into Band of Brothers, but I was also there. And I just said, actually, part of me, as knowing him for a while, was like, oh no, he won't do this, he won't do that, and then, but I sort of positioned it. It's like, oh, you like reading? There'll be a bit of poetry. There'll be some books. There'll be some conversations. There'll be some coffee and biscuits. And Robin's he's got his rite of passage coming up in with Band of Brothers in September.
Amazing.
And me and him are doing a duel on the PR and comms as volunteers for our circle. He's actually a trained writer. I'm a trained put spelling mistakes into things. And yeah, so and for me as a long-term friend, where I knew that there's only so much I can do, whether I big brother, whether I try and solve, whether whatever I was doing. But actually now I get to witness him expressing how he feels and feeling comfortable enough. So it's not with me and him, it's now him sharing that. And that's been really good to see. And so much so that, his ex-partner came up to me and said, I'm really chuffed you managed to get Robin to go. I said, I made an invitation. I didn't made him go. The invitation was, would you like to join me for Circle? No obligation, just come in,
Yeah, and it's just a incredibly well timed question to ask, wasn't it? Because you had enough of the tools and the knowledge to be able to go, right, I'm going to ask the question. The answer is worrying. I'm just going to gently suggest that
Yeah.
this is a thing that might help.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need to make that offer a few times before someone's ready to take it, right?
Totally, totally. And even me taking the offer to come in Circle isn't, I want to give back to my own journey for the place I live in, St Austell, because it's got the nickname St Awful, and I want it to change to St Awesome, because if you're growing young men and women and non-binary children in these times, and everybody thinks it's a place not to linger and it's a place to leave and it's a place thing, well, what have you got to believe in, kind of thing? So how do we shift that it is a place of possibilities, and stuff anywhere has got its moments, and that's kind of why I'm giving back and going, and through that I've learned a whole new set of tools. There was actually one thing, actually, which actually was a light bulb moment, but it's a bit of a different one thinking about it. I talked to you earlier about having young board members. So I'm big on having, it's called Boardroom 2030. So what's the boardroom of 2030 look like, and why we need young people on boards now, not when they're sort of like our age. And I hosted my first one at 2019, and there's this wonderful lady called Amelia. She won't mind me saying. And Amelia reached out to me when she was 19. She's in the environmental movement. She's, an activist. She's been into Iceland, filming the whales being sorted, and she's, been at all the climate strikes and stuff. Really amazing young woman. And it was all around like, oh, why do I not have anxiety or eco-anxiety? And it's like, because I'm always in action. So the antidote is action. So that's why I've changed to the antidote is love in action. Anyway, she was one of our, up until last year, she's our youth board member for Goodfest. And 2 years ago said, oh, it'd be really good if you could just talk. And she goes, oh, what should I talk about? I said, you're on the board with me, so you can talk about what you want. You don't need my 50-year-old approval. I trust you. That's why you're on the board. Anyway, the day came and she's talking to 150 people of all different ages in our Goodfest space on the north coast of Cornwall. And the conversation was one I never ever expected to hear. And it was about eco-anxiety, and it was about how close she came to ending her life until she found her tribe, her people. And, it was profound. There were tears in the room. There's another activist there called Vera Rodriguez, two brilliant humans, now 24, both 24, 24, 25. Afterwards, I got a text from media that just said, I hope you know you're one of the people that kept me in the world. And I did not know that. And that was the biggest shift. So actually my light bulb moment was, shit, I'm having these conversations with these young people and I'm not even thinking about this. And I'm glad I didn't know, because it puts a whole new lens on. If I'll be worrying probably, or going, oh, our parents need to know. But actually, for not knowing and just showing up as me and my openness, my integrity, my imperfections, it showed enough of possibilities alongside all the other people in that time that helped keep her in the world. And but it was her. And actually, when we said goodbye, when she was stepping down from the board, I told her, thanks to her, I was doing the Band of Brothers mentoring training, so that I at least had extra tools if any scenarios came up. So suicide awareness and stuff like that. Not to go find people that are in this place. Just make sure every conversation I have is at least the best it can be, whatever I know about them. But Amelia was so not even a man or a young man, it was a young woman that's shown up in my life profoundly, brilliantly. And, she was recently on stage at the launch of David Attenborough's latest Blue Planet thing, introducing it with the film director. And I'm like, I was like, see what you've done. She goes, oh, thanks for, thank you for everything you gave. I said, no, you made me look brighter because I knew your future would be so bright, kind of thing. But yeah, she's the inspiration, and to actually put myself more into a place where I do have the tools, not necessarily a Samaritan, not to solve if somebody's going to try and end their life, but at least to be able to listen and maybe act if it came to it. Hopefully I never come to it, but we don't know what conversations we're going to have any day. I'm sure people in your life, when you were in that burnout, didn't know what was going on. People find it really hard to imagine me burnt out. And then I tell them about ADHD and they go, oh, I didn't know you had ADHD, but that makes sense. and things like that. So, learning, inspired. Talking to young people, there's something really amazing and opening about it.
That's what a fantastic legacy as well, to be able to kind of act on that and show others the way forward, which is kind of a hallmark of, again, whether or not that's how you think about it. That's certainly how it comes across to me, that you're one of those rare people that is actually thinking about what happens beyond you, and because of that, you're having a big impact on the here and now, and will do in the future as well. And the example that you gave there of Amelia, I think it's a testament to the way that you are. Um, you have the emotional intelligence to engage with people and make them feel a particular way, but also, what an amazing thing to know that you have been involved in, that you've helped her when you didn't even know she needed it. That's huge. And
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
this, and I guess that kind of relates to the final question that I have for you, Matt, which is, if somebody has listened to this conversation and they are experiencing something similar, or they feel like they might be, because say the later diagnosis of ADHD, that some of this stuff might be starting to ring true for them. What's the most important thing in your experience? What's the most important thing or things that they can do?
I'd say the first thing from my own experience then is maybe don't get your back up if somebody makes an observation that they feel there's this happening or you're this. If we take it from a place of they're saying it from love and care rather than judgment, I think so. It's just pausing for a moment, and that's quite hard for me, as you know, this ferocious speed that I travel at, looking at all these timelines like the multiverse. So yeah, I think think about that person before. Don't do what I did, and think about it, because they will probably be doing it from a place of love and care, and not like meanness or anything. It's a big thing for somebody to tell you these things, because it's scary. It could lose a friendship, a relationship. Imagine telling our sons and daughters to some of these things. We tread a cautious path, especially when people are younger. But I'm a very stubborn person, so yeah, take time to think. I mean, as I said, I didn't tell Georgie straight away, but I went online and did a test and things. And I got a friend recently to do the same, because I started to realize, I think they've got anxiety, and I sort of managed to get them, just said, oh, I did this test. And sure enough, they went and go, oh, I've come up with really high anxiety on the test. I said, well, maybe you should talk to the doctor. So yeah, pay attention to people around you, because they care more than you know about each of us, kind of thing. Might find it hard to believe sometimes when our imposter syndromes are kicking in. And then the other thing is, have the conversations. Once I was on the sertraline and stuff, I was a lot calmer. So sometimes when something would go wrong in the house or something got broken, I'd be, oh my God, how did that break? And I noticed my daughters, I'm considered the friendly dad, super smiley, with an incredible Hulk inside him. so I wouldn't argue, wouldn't angry, and then suddenly I would burst like a volcano you didn't know was there. And so the taking the sertraline gave me, it slowed things down. And actually, when Esme and I once were moving some furniture, the leg of her drawer broke off, and I heard her go like that, and I was like, "It's okay, we'll fix it." But afterwards, what I was able to say to Esme is like, "So, what did you notice something different there?" She went, "Dad, yeah, you didn't get stressy about it." And I said, "No, I'm working on myself." But getting feedback and checking in, do people notice something? It's kind of like think about 360 feedback. Actually, surely if we want to be the best version of ourselves, I need to get that feedback, and having those conversations with the people that are closest to you are sometimes the people we push away the most. The last thing is, there are many, many, many groups of all types, for men, women, non-binary, trans, LGBTQ plus. There's groups out there, and give them a try, dip in. Yes, there's, if you're feeling low or unsure, or you're like me, you don't like doctors and stuff, and you always find doctors things. I actually found a doctor who was amazing, who I don't like doctors at all. I think they talk rubbish most of the time. I ended up with a lovely doctor, and she'd ring me on a Friday, and I'd be going, oh, you need to be going home. She goes, no, I wanted to check this is when I had the burnout thing, and we were trying to work out whether it was burnout or ADHD burnout through masking. And she'd be on the phone for half an hour, and I'm worrying about her, going, "Hey, I know you're supposed to only have 5." She goes, "No, I want to make sure that we've turned no stone's been unturned." And she was amazing. So there are good people out there doing jobs. Not saying doctors are bad because they're just rushed and things, but actually going to some of these groups and dipping in. There's lots of different groups, out there as well. Icebreakers, men's dipping group, where men just gather together and go in the water. I think on Wednesdays and Sundays all over the UK in different places, like one in Brighton and one in Bath and Bristol and London stuff. They're all different men's group. Find a thing that you can be yourself in, and you can just watch for a while. Park run. It's a drive. You'll make some friends. Your local running club. You don't have to sort of instantly say your whole world. This is the thing. It's just kind of just be with others, and we realize that we're all reflections of each other. So yes, there's a few things there. Have the conversations, experiment. You're not alone. Yeah, and the hardest thing, I guess, is I am enough, you're enough, the listeners are enough. We just need to sometimes appreciate ourselves a little bit more. And I know the world is very up and down at the moment, and we can't affect and change everything, but we can look after our ecosystem and sort ourselves out first. And that does mean the inner work. So yeah, I don't know if that made sense, any of that.
It did. Yeah, that did, Matt. It did.
Yeah, it got me thoughtful because you could feel my pace slowing down and the rhythm from speed to just that kind of calmness. And this, so much, because when I talk, it's galaxies.
Yeah.
But that bit, it just comes down to, you are enough. Have the conversations, and if somebody's saying something to you, don't take it from a place of defense and shock like I did, and like horror. Take it from a place of love. They care enough for you. So take again, go back to that perfect. There's no perfect, but take the action. First thing, go online, maybe just check. Don't have to go onto medication. I've yet to go onto ADHD medication, but actually we're looking Wednesday to maybe switch out my sertraline anxiety, because the assessor that I've got tomorrow on Wednesday says actually it's probably not good to be on the sertraline because it will make you more wired. So we need to find the right ADHD drug, because the anxiety is is piggybacking off of the ADHD, so it rides with it basically. So once you get the right thing for the ADHD, you get the slowness, but you don't get the wiredness and stuff like that. So yeah, keep on investigating.
Yeah.
But
Matt,
thank you for me, Dan, as part of your good enough, conversations. And
no, thank you. It's been an illuminating conversation. There's so your transparency, your openness to this. You said radical honesty, radical candour, and you have been. Because of that, I'm sure that other people are going to hear this, and it's going to help them. I'm incredibly grateful. If people do hear this and they'd like to talk to you, Matt, is it okay for them to contact you?
100%. So yeah, I'm on LinkedIn as Matt Hocking. I look like me. I'm my main presence is Instagram as Matt Hocking again, but not the footballer Matt Hocking. He's somebody that plays for Southampton or someone. I don't do football. And so it's just, I think Matt.Hocking on Instagram. And then my email is Matt, MATT at leap.eco, ECO. So
I'll tag you in those posts, and I'll drop the links to those as well in the description,
yeah. And Dan, I'll send you a couple of things. So I was thinking when we were in the conversation just about, like I said, Bodhi, who's working around the masculine and the feminine in each of us and presence. When we were talking about the work you and I are doing and putting ourselves in there, Bodhi's next free online thing is about mastering our money scarcity so that we can be the best version of ourselves in the work we do. So I'm signing up for that course because
Okay.
I have a money aversion, which I need to to change the dial on, kind of thing. So to get more freedom and connection in my life, to do things like this as well. So I'm going to send you that link. It's an invitation that if you feel you have time in that, and again, Bodhi could be a conversation in the future as well for
Yes.
you.
Yeah. Well, there's my incentive to attend that session as well. Get to know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, he's a very, very special individual that has learned how to be truly present in every moment.
no, all power to that. That's something we could all work on a lot more, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you, and also, Dan, just for your sharing as well, and why this is here. This is important. I don't know if you managed to share your story and the perfections and all that in each one, but it's good. And you stopped going slightly red on your cheeks now, so it's great.
Well, at various times, well, the sun's coming out again now, so I'm just about to go bright pink as the sun hits this. But no, it's I'm so grateful, Matt, for you doing this and for your kind words as well. Thank you also to our viewers, our listeners. Um, if you found this episode helpful, insightful, please let us know. Let Matt know. Let me know. Comment if you see it shared on social. If you know somebody that might benefit from hearing or seeing this directly, please send them the link to the show wherever you're listening to it. What would be incredibly kind of you is if you could leave a review for the show if you're listening to this on the podcasting platforms. By all accounts, it doesn't matter what you say, it's the star rating that matters. So I'm particularly interested, not to dissuade the 4, 3, 2, and 1 star ratings, but I'm really interested in the 5-star ratings. And, say something, but, be nice. Because that really helps to get the show in front of more people in the future. And as we grow this bank of conversations, the idea is that they are here for when somebody needs them. Okay, so the more of you guys that can share this stuff, get it in front of more relevant people, that would be fantastic. That's it for now. We will be back again very soon with another episode of Good Enough Chats. In the meantime, take care of yourselves. Cheers.